Alright, so we're going to be going over the squat today. Back squat is really one of the foundational lifts in power squatting. So to break it down, the major muscles involved in the back squat are really all the major muscle groups of the lower body. So the quadriceps, adductors, gluteals, and muscles of the hips, and the hamstrings. And then those muscles of the lower leg are also important for stability and balance, so the calves. And then with the back squat isometrically uses the muscles of the core, so the abdominals, obliques, and rector spinae, to stabilize the core and prevent injury to the spine. So just to walk you through a quick warm-up for the squat it would look something like stationary bike for 5 minutes, just get everything loose. Go through some walking mobility, so the hurdle walk, bent leg knee hug, hamstring scoops, right and left leg, lead foot sumo, straight leg kicks, single leg RDLs, and then get into some maybe light plyometric exercises, so dance skip, A skip, lateral bounds, and then for the upper body and the core, some things like shoulder taps, push-ups, flutter kicks, crossovers, and then once you get on the bar, do some warm-up sets building up to that working weight. Alright, so we're just going to take you through a squat progression for a beginner athlete. So this would be for an athlete who's never squatted before. First thing you want to do is just assess their body weight squat. So we're going to make sure we have a good base, about hip width apart, toes straight forward or slightly out. We're going to have them put their arms out straight. We're going to have them go down and hold for 5 seconds at the bottom position. And so what we want to do is assess flexibility, mobility, any muscle imbalances, that kind of thing. So you can come up. Okay, so that's the first one. So you can do 3 5-second holds. Make sure the heels aren't coming up. Make sure the knees stay over the toes. Form is good, flat back. And so after the 3 5-second holds, the next thing is just 3 regular squats with no hold. So go ahead and do 3. Good, so we're just assessing any flexibility issues, mobility issues, imbalances before we actually get weight on the bar. So after the body weight, we're going to add some weight and do a goblet squat. For the goblet squat, you can use a kettlebell, a dumbbell if you don't have a kettlebell, or even a plate. What you want to do is just hold it right there in front of your chest against the body. We're going to do the same thing. So she's going to go down into the bottom position and hold for 5 seconds. We just want to make sure there's good squat form all the way through. Okay, come up. Okay, and so you can do 3 5-second holds in the goblet squat. And then we want to do 3 just normal goblet squats. Making sure the knees are in line with the toes. Good back and good squat. Okay, so we're going to have her step on the bar here. So we just want to work from the ground up. So when she steps on the bar, good feet, good base, about hip width apart, slightly wider hip width if that feels comfortable to you. And then a big thing we see a lot with people who haven't squatted before is they're not right in the center of the bar, so we want them right in the middle of the bar so the weight is balanced. Okay, so go ahead and step under. So one thing you can do to make sure you're in the center is line up your hands, and then step under, make sure you're in the center of the bar. And so bring this foot up, and then go ahead and lift up. So we want to make sure we have that solid base when we're lifting. Ideally, she would be facing the other way, but for the sake of the video, we're going to face this way. So go ahead and step up. About right there. Okay, get your base. Okay, so we'll just have her go ahead and perform a squat here, making sure everything looks good. Good base, knees over toes, all the way down. So when you're squatting, you want to hit at least a 90-degree angle when you're doing full squats. There's controversy about which is better, coming to parallel, or doing that full range of motion and going all the way down as far as you can go. Personally, I prefer going all the way down, doing that full range of motion. Let's go ahead and do one more. And then, so I talked about the stabilizing musculature of the core. So when we come down, we want our back in a neutral to slightly extended position. So we don't want to be too extended, and we for sure don't want to round, but we want to be in that, we want a good back all the way down, and same thing with the neck. So neutral to slightly extended. We don't want to be hyperextended, and we don't want to have our head down. So good back all the way through and all the way up. Alright, so the next thing we want to talk about is breathing. Breathing is really important for the squat. During that eccentric portion, the downward portion of the squat, we want to take a big breath in, fill up our torso with air, and then as soon as you hit that sticking point, you want to let it all out. Big breath out to come up. So here's an example of what the breath should look like. So with heavy squatting, safety precaution is the belt. You really want to reserve the belt for, near maximal effort squats. So, 90% plus of your 1 RM. So you can build that core musculature when you're doing lesser weights. And then another thing you hear about a lot with the squat is the Valsalva maneuver. And that is, filling the torso with air and holding it. So it stabilizes that core all the way down and all the way up and protects your spine. There are some side effects with the Valsalva maneuver, so it can increase your blood pressure and that kind of thing. So make sure you're not at risk for these kind of things before doing the Valsalva maneuver. All right, so we'll just go over some teaching cues that I like to use when coaching the squat. One is to push the ground away. This is just a simple cue that helps the athlete understand. Focus on pushing the ground away from you rather than lifting the weight. Another is keep your knees in line with the toes. Good back. Make sure you keep a good back. Don't hyperextend. Don't flex. High chest. A lot of times, new athletes will come down like this, and there'll be too much of a hip hinge. So big chest, high chest, good back. Those are some teaching cues that I like to use. Alright, so next thing I just want to go over a couple variations of the squat. These are great for athletes to change the angle of the weight and target different muscle groups. So the first one is the front squat. It's moving the weight to the front, on the clavicles and the front deltoids. So what that's going to do is change the angle so you're targeting your quadriceps muscles more. Alright, so we'll just take a quick look at the front squat here. So line up. Same mechanics all the way up, except the bar is on the front, so you want it resting on the clavicles and the front of the deltoids. You don't want a tight grip. Just go ahead and loosen your grip. Bring the hands in. And then elbows high. So that's one thing, that's one cue you can use as a coach. So when they go down, lead up with the elbows. So go ahead and do one. Okay, good. So again, just another variation of the squat. Is the front squat. It's a great exercise for the lower body and to change up the original back squat. Alright, so the last variation I want to go over today is the box squat. So we have a bench here. Ideally you'd have a box. You can use different heights of boxes, so you can go below 90, you can go 90, or you can remain above 90 if you're working partial reps. I like a wide stance with the box squat, and then the big thing with the box squat is you're going to sit more back than down. So when you sit back, you're sitting back instead of more traditional squat where you're sitting down. So our athlete's going to perform one here. See how she sits back? Take all your weight off and then stand back up. So that's what a box squat looks like. This one's great for, it takes a lot of the strain off of the knees. There's a ton of other variations of squat you can look into. There's equipment now such as the Pit Shark where you don't even have the weight on your back anymore, but it's held by a belt. So the squat really is a great exercise for any athlete. Translates to basically all sports that involve running, jumping, all those those kind of things. Alright, just the last thing I forgot to address here is just spotting, and then also the safety bars. So this isn't a great rack because there's no safety bars, not a power rack. But ideally you'd have a power rack where you're in the rack and there's those safety bars, and what you want to do is line those safety bars, so if your parallel's right here, you want those safety bars right below, so if you fell on the weight, you can just safely drop that weight back, and those safety bars are going to catch it so you're not getting pinned under the bar. So for just one person squatting, what you want to do is just be right behind the lifter and get up under those arms. And so as soon as you see them start to fail, you just lift up, and they're able to get that rep up. And as soon as you start going really heavy, you're going to want to have 3 spotters. So you're going to have a back spotter and then 2 spotters on each side. And those side spotters' job is just to be right there under the barbell. And as soon as they notice that the lifter is not going to be able to get the weight up, they're both just going to communicate, and they're going to get the weight up. That's the biggest thing with spotters, is just being on the same level, being on the same page, and communicating with the lifter so you know when to step in and help.